Chidanandji, you can start right now, sir. Chidanandji, you can start right now. No problem.
Right. Living fully is our topic on which we wish to reflect together. One or two of us will speak a few words to set the tone for all of us applying our minds to the topic. I feel that these sessions can be just another activity if we make it so. Or these sessions can be an opportunity for you and me to touch something timeless. As we reflect on Krishnaji's teachings, something extraordinary can happen to us. We who otherwise are so busy in this competitive world can step back and take a fresh look at life. It's against such a backdrop that we will take a look at this topic now, living fully. There is a great misconception around the world that to live fully, we got to go places, see Europe, Japan, you got to see Australia. And if you have not gone to Africa, where have you lived fully? Somebody would ask us. Or some others might feel, living fully means enjoy all the pleasures of the world. Have you taken a little whiskey at least once in life? Somebody would ask us. And if we say, no, not even beer, they would look at us and sometimes openly say, you haven't lived a full life. Stupid fellows. They connect living fully with eating this, drinking that, going to that place, sitting on a chair, and our name coming in radio or on the television. There's a long list which are all expressions of that basic worldly misconception. Spiritually speaking, it's not by possessing something, acquiring something, experiencing something that we live fully. It is only by letting go of what is coming in the way between our own inherent natural fullness and us. No wonder on this land where you and I have been born or were born, the rishis said thousands of years ago, there actually is fullness only. From fullness arises fullness, and fullness alone remains. And we are trying to think about living fully this evening. So in what sense are we talking about living fully? Or if it is negation that we are going to do, if it is letting go that we are up to, what on the earth should we let go? What is it? Negate. That is where, friends, the topic which has two lines, living fully, can an ambitious man love his wife? these are the two parts. The connection between these two parts is very clear if we see that things like ambition are what come in the way between the fullness and us, in a manner of saying. What does ambition do? How can it obstruct or mask the fullness that is supposed to be in us? Krishnaji has said at many places, ambition, greed, jealousy, and so on dissipate energy. If energy is dissipated, then we feel as though we are cut to size, we are trimmed, our growth is stunted. Imagine a plant is growing beautifully every morning with tea in your hand, sitting in the balcony. You look at the plant, hey, you tell your husband, aha, how nicely it is growing. And one fine morning, you feel that it seems to have stopped growing, seems to have no life in it now. Seriously speaking, that's what happens when we are hijacked by ambition, desire to become somebody, intention to show to somebody who we are, and the urge to become famous or whatever. Here it's not growth, though in a sense there is growth too, but here it is love in our heart that gets stunted, that gets truncated. In the commercial world, companies sometimes release a product, and that product is a bit expensive, let us say. Then they have, as a marketing strategy, they have what is called an economy edition. The features are less and the price also is less. So you grab that economy edition and get going. And if you really like the product, very soon you will buy the full-fledged product with all features. Desire, ambition, jealousy, etc. reduce us from being someone full of love to an economy edition. In our life, some ifs and buts will enter. Somebody asks us, will you help me? We look at him and look at him from top to bottom, and this machine called our mind, will be thinking, if I help him, what will I get? Will he help in my ambition, fulfilling my ambition? We become calculative. That is where from the vibrant, full-blown existence of ours, we get reduced to an economy edition. And so many workshops in this world, self-development workshops, I believe it's $1 billion industry. Tom, Dick, and Harry is nowadays online also. Pay this much, we will make you smart. We will tell you how to win, how to influence people, right? So, in our urge to become somebody, we actually truncate ourselves. We become petty people. Then what is it to live fully? You have heard all these mystical statements with a poetic touch to them. To live is to die. The art of living is the art of dying. Great mystics, seers, who have an extraordinary insight, have said this. Following them, a lot of people who read also say this. So it's difficult for us sometimes to figure out who is saying from her own fresh insight and who is speaking or writing, so totally borrowing words from somewhere. That has been the tragedy with religion in general. And the so-called Krishnamurti circles, of course, are not an exception, because here too, we are human beings. Human beings have a strong tendency to become copycats, to read something and then quote it, speak, write, and so on. Somebody borrowed so many ideas from everywhere and wrote a book, How to Become Rich. And that book sold quite well and he made some money. But because he was really not very intelligent, everything was borrowed. After a few years, he actually became very poor. But he had a sense of humor. He became so poor, he was sitting before a temple in Kanchipuram near Chennai as a beggar. And somebody recognized him. Hey, are you not the author of that best-selling book some 10 years ago, which was titled 1,000 Ways to Become Rich? And the beggar looked up and smiled and said, oh, I thought nobody would recognize me with all this beard and disheveled hair. Great, you recognized me. I am indeed the author of that famous book. The other guy got shocked. You wrote such a wonderful book. I also read and was inspired. How come you are a beggar now in front of this Kanchi Kamakshi temple? He smiled. The author smiled. Please read my book again. This is also one of the ways to make money. I'm sitting here, therefore. That was a sense of humor, of course. Poor man had messed up his life so badly because when you and I don't give the teachings, but just go with our borrowed knowledge, read something, watch some video, and next day give a great speech, we will end up as a beggar in front of Kamakshi, Meenakshi, or Vishalakshi temple, I tell you. Anyway, coming back to serious discussion, the art of living has been rightly said to be actually art of dying. When Krishnaji therefore spoke to students of Rajghat, let me quote 2 lines. That's what inspired me to give this topic also. Addressing students of Rajghat in way back, 1963. Somebody like me came to Rajghat first time in 2002 and was very touched. Then 2003, I came with bag and baggage and spent 10 years there. But this was Krishnamurti at Rajghat, students' questions, November 23, 1963. Wow, long back. Okay, in that he says, you are on this earth to live fully, happily, with your whole being, free of ambition, greed, and fear. If you are greedy or ambitious, you cannot live fully, because greed and ambition dissipate your energy. When you live fully, a light unto yourself, you will not follow anybody, and so on. There is much more here, but briefly, he throws light on how when we indulge in greed, in pleasure seeking, and a host of other things, we indeed dissipate energy. You've gone to watch a Bharatanatyam, and suppose just before entering the hall, where a splendid Bharatanatyam will start in 5 minutes, you had a quarrel. You had a big verbal fight with somebody who also had come to watch the dance. Outside the hall, suppose you called each other names. And then he also entered, you also entered the hall. You have dissipated your energy in that brawl, in that cockfight. And you sit there, maybe in the front row, wanting to enjoy the Bharatanatyam, but your mind is not fully available. Alas, I have shared a very gross example, for what Krishnaji talked of as dissipation of energy. I'm sure there are so many gross and subtle forms in which our energy gets dissipated. Our love shrinks. Now we take up the issue. Can a man who is ambitious at work love his wife too? Ambitious at work. That is work. What prevents him from loving his wife at home? These are two watertight compartments, you may say. That is where you and I go wrong. In life, really, there are no watertight compartments at all. Life is one whole. If I am ambitious at work, very eager to climb the corporate ladder, and cannot tolerate a colleague of mine getting praised by our common boss, and I get suspicious about another colleague who comes every day 2 hours late, and yet the boss doesn't say anything to him. Is there something hidden from us? He comes 2 hours late, and yet he is one of the favorites. We work so hard, but he is as much praised as we are. So the calculative mind, dissipates energy. Then I come home and I call my wife, honey, and so many nice words. And if we are sometimes gifted with certain talents and some energy, we will be doing everything. The wife asks the husband, please go bring our son from the tuition. I go and bring. And the wife says, tomorrow my parents are coming. Can you go to office a little late, first receive them at the railway station? Surely. So, in a offhand description of a so-called good husband, this man is doing very many things and puts up a smile also and remembers to say to his wife, I love you, especially in front of her parents. He does all those things. But our question is not about that kind of clever display, clever exhibition of love, that kind of being on one's toes. In our question, can he love his wife? If this man is ambitious at work, our question is there true love? And what is true love? True love is where, I'm once more quoting Krishnaji, the self is not. Love is where the self is not. So, a husband, in this example case we took, it could be a wife also. Nowadays, with a large number of women going to work, most families are double income families these days. So whatever is said more than ever before applies to women at work. Can a woman be ambitious at her workplace and yet love her husband and children or neighbor, anybody? Right. We would say, as we examine the matter with lens, not with naked eyes, to put it in a figurative expression, look at the matter with a magnifying glass. You will find a whole lot of cultivated goodness. This man has cultivated very many good habits: to call his wife honey, to praise her in front of a third party especially, and to compliment her on something she prepared before even tasting one bite. The wife has prepared some special pongal. Today is Tamil New Year's Day. So let me give the example of a Tamil preparation. Don't ask me to prepare. I can only talk about this. Don't take the risk of coming to me someday and, Swamiji, can you prepare some pongal or upma? I will ask you, do you have health insurance? So the man has cultivated a lot of good habits. He takes one bite of the pongal that his wife has prepared and says, delicious. Wow. And looks at his son, looks at his daughter. Isn't it so delicious what mom has prepared? Your mother has prepared such a wonderful pongal. Allah. From some self-development workshop, he has learned all this and is cleverly doing it. Sorry, it's not all this, an author calls such things personality ethic. By attending workshops on 10 ways of good husbands, it's a workshop. You are made to come on the stage and enact also, so that when you go home, you will very quickly, start practicing whatever those habits. So personality ethic. I keep reading, by the way, a little bit of these self-help books. Maybe one day I will stop it. But right now there is a tendency in me. A little bit I read Robin Sharma and such books. How to be on top of the world and so on. I know in one part of me I laugh. What is all this? I don't want to be on top of the world. If my conflicts end, that is more than enough. I want to be somebody with no conflict in my heart. I don't have to be on top of the world. I don't have to be the best performer, the best writer or speaker or leader or this or that. But these self-help books, entice you, tempt you. And that's how they have great sales. And sometimes these authors finally end up in front of Kanchi Kamakshi or Madurai Meenakshi or Kashi Vishalakshi. God forbid, let that not happen, because that doesn't give them true peace. They finally go to somebody who doesn't write, who doesn't speak, who sits quietly gazing at the sky, maybe at his feet or in his company. These successful authors get glimpses of true peace. So I mentioned a word drawing from self-help books: personality ethic. You know how to walk, you know how to stand. And one thing I remember, I learned some 25 years ago. When you get introduced to somebody, personality ethic demands that you remember that person's name. Somebody comes and shakes hands with you. Hello, I am Ashok Mishra. And then we shall have our name. And the personality ethic has a rule. When somebody has introduced himself as Ashok Mishra, repeat that 3 times in your mind. And next week, suppose you chance upon him in another get together, you should straight away say, "Hello, Mr. Mishra, how are you doing?" He will be very impressed. That is how you can win friends and influence people. But these dialogues are not about influencing people. At best, such things happen, as a side product, as a byproduct in case of some. Not all people who are living fully become popular. Not all who are free of conflict get noticed by this mad world. And getting noticed by the world is not important. Basic needs are fulfilled and you are fine. So I want to complete this reference to personality ethic. Even in self-help books, with a touch of moral values and so on, they do say, personality ethic cannot take you too far. You got to go for character ethic. Character ethic is when you not only do the right thing when people are watching, but also do the right thing when nobody is watching. You are a person of character. You don't want to show to people who you are in some fanciful way. You are what you are. You are always interested in understanding the self. Self-knowing, as we call it. There is something called self-knowledge in Vedanta and other works, some transcendental realization. Leave it aside. We are talking of self-knowing with the word self, if you are writing it, starting with a lowercase s. There is no self with uppercase s. Some Atma, Paramatma, etc. Leave them aside. Self-knowing. Even as you impress somebody and you notice that person is impressed by you, you experience certain elation. If you closely examine, oh my, I have been wanting to impress people, and when people do get impressed, oh, it delights me so much. So you notice you are seeking, you see, acceptance, seeking recognition, seeking sometimes applause and so on. If you can notice it, what you are up to in all your small and big interactions, that noticing, that watching is said to be of great value. Lastly, 1 or 2 more points. This world of ours, which you and I only have built, is cruel. There are a lot of vested interests. There are lobbies. There are groups of people who want to pull you to their camp. And slowly, without your knowing, they would try to brainwash you and make you say things which they like you to say, and make you say such things which the other camp would not like to say. And all this is done so cleverly by individuals, by groups of people, by even very, very well-developed countries. If you have some talent, they grab you. Then they would ask you to speak their language, which comes from a certain vested interest. Vested interest means you already decide. You have decided what it is you want. And then, without letting go of that preconceived idea of what you want, you talk about objectivity. You talk about seeing things without bias. But there's an underlying vested interest. And the other point I share with you is, it is finally seeing And Krishnaji, in that very piece where he addressed the students of Rajghat Besant School in 1963, talks about seeing and listening. If you see and if you listen, you will come upon that living fully. Ambition and greed will leave your bosom. See and listen. Through seeing, through listening, you will be able to let go of all that you have collected, you have borrowed, all the junk that you have brought in and made room for that junk to stay in you. The junk will leave if you see, if you listen. Maybe during the interaction and before that, maybe Harshadji also will throw some light on what this seeing. We generally talk a lot about seeing. I would like to know from all of you what this listening could be. I have some vague idea, but why Krishnaji says see, listen, which is very interesting. Thank you.
Harshad Parikh sir, would you please be kind enough to address it?
Yes. Are you able to hear?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Thank you, Swamiji. I enjoyed listening to your talk. And since you have given the title about man, ambition, wife, and love, that reminds me of a professor with whom I worked for my PhD in America. And that professor, he was very ambitious and he had many awards. He had written books, many scientific papers, and he was always very busy. And he was so busy that he had no time for his wife and child. And this went on for some time. And one day, the wife and the child went away from him. And then this professor, he was very sad. And he said to me that he would like to give up this scientific research and go to his country and do some social work, something like that. But I feel that how do you do anything, whether it is social work or teaching or like Swamiji said, seeing and listening, how do we do anything? Even to speak, how do we speak? So I think it requires a kind of clarity and a kind of a confidence where you are not trying to impress. You are not even conscious of what you are saying, but things are coming by itself. And about what is love, and it seems to me that without freedom, freedom from the self, from all the problems which the self is occupied with, like ambition, jealousy, loneliness, anger, all these problems, as long as it exists, this sense of love, which Krishnaji is talking about, it doesn't happen because one has to be very, very silent and looking without the knowledge, not only looking, but listening also. So that is a very rare quality, what love is. And Krishnaji said that if parents loved their children, there would be no war. But we see that love is very, very rare, and there are lots of fights in the family and many, many problems which exist in the family, in the society, because this sense of love, that kind of freedom, clarity, it doesn't exist. This also reminds me of a dialogue between Yajnavalkya and Maitreyi. They were husband and wife, and they are discussing something about love. And what is said by the Rishi Yajnavalkya, it says that a husband loves a wife not because she is wife, but because there is something in her, the true essence, the Atman. And a person loves that which is the essence in human being. And it also says that if we get our happiness from something outside, like from the wife, then that will be taken away because the wife will change. Something will happen in relationship, or the wife dies, and then your source of happiness is gone. So real happiness, real clarity, it comes from looking at oneself very, very clearly and having no problem, having the no self. That is the real source of happiness. And then even the small, small thing which you see in the sky, like a bird flying or a cloud moving or the star shining, all this becomes a source of happiness in just looking or listening to the birds. How do we listen? So, uh, this love, everybody is talking about it in the world. So, there is a song which says, Prem Prem sab koi kahe, par prem na jane koi. Everybody is talking about love, but nobody knows or feels what love is. जो कोई जाने जगत में तो फिर जुदा रहे न कोई. So a person who feels the real love, he doesn't feel himself separate from the world. And that happens when there is no sense of ego, the self is not there, then everything is open. And that love, it can be given or it radiates from for everything. Like some time ago, I had played a song in one of my talks in which it says, Jina isi ka naam hai, in which it showed a man, he has given lot of money to the woman he loves, and he feels very happy by giving. And when he goes on the road, he removes the insect from the road. He's not going to get anything from the insect, but he cares about that little insect. Then he helps a blind man to cross a road, and he dances with little children. So a love is radiating from this man when he is very happy, and he doesn't expect anything from anybody. So yes, we are discussing about love, but we are using many words, and the word love is not love. And that is what two people who had come to Krishnaji to discuss about what is love. And the two men said, the more we have discussed, the clearer it has become. And Krishnaji asked a very important question. Has love become clear, or what you think about it? So we can know theoretically what love is, but does it reflect in our daily life in this kind of love where we are not, we do something not in order to get something out of it. So this love is neither attachment, because attachment leads to fear, anger, jealousy, loneliness. And I have gone through all these problems in my life when I was deeply attached. It was not love. But when there is a love, when the attachment goes away, then there is not even detachment, but something which is a sense of being at peace within oneself and looking at everything without knowledge, listening to everything. And that kind of feeling which I get from Krishnamurti's when he talks about what is love. And so love is very, very rare. There is a beautiful article in Commentaries on Living is about love in relationship. And in that, Krishnaji says, love in relationship is a purifying process as it reveals the ways of the self. So a real relationship and love in which we begin to understand ourselves as we are. And when we can see that there are jealousy, anger, we begin to see clearly, then that seeing makes us free from all these problems. So the real seeing is the action which dissolves the problems created by the self, by thinking. And there's a beautiful article, Love is Understanding, and that is in a Buddha's biography, in which Buddha talks with the king, and Buddha very gently tells the king that when you love everybody, not only your family, but your people to whom you govern in the whole state. And in that, there is no expectations. And people who are interested may like to read that article. It's very beautiful the way Buddha speaks. So I think I have said most of the thing about what I feel about love. In the end, I will say that as long as there is ambition, jealousy, fear, loneliness, and all these problems created by the self, by thinking exist, love doesn't exist. And this kind of love is very, very rare. And that is a real challenge in our life. Thank you very much.
Chidanandji, would you like to say something about self-knowing as requested by Ravi?
Yes.
Okay, please
Yes.
go ahead.
True. Actually, self-knowledge and self-knowing can be synonymous also. But because the word self-knowledge has been used quite a lot in Vedanta and a whole lot of other philosophers of traditional Indian philosophy, they have used self-knowledge as Atma Gyan, and generally, typically, they mean by self-knowledge, knowing yourself to be the non-doer, the non-experiencer, akarta, abhokta, and shivoham, all that, there is that strong and very popular philosophy around. In view of that, though otherwise self-knowledge and self-knowing can be synonymous, to avoid that other connotation that you go around remembering you are the pure self with no birth or death and so on. There's a whole philosophy about that Atma Gyan. आप जब अपने को आत्मा जानते हैं, then आप ये समझेंगे कि मैं तो वो आत्मा हूँ जिसका जन्म ही नहीं हुआ, मैं वो आत्मा हूँ जिसका मृत्यु संभव ही नहीं है, वगैरह वगैरह. So there is that lot of sahitya, which someone like me fully appreciates because I have studied Vedanta. I know what it means and what it does not mean. You cannot go about saying Shivoham, and then next, bring out your limited self. So that's it. But in the discussion that we generally are into at such platforms like Krishnaji's students, then, self-knowing is a better word. That word is not used in those popular, circles. And now let me distinguish what self-knowing is. Self-knowing is to take cognizance of the self in operation, its insecurity, or its elation, its feeling joyous at some success that one gets. So one's ups and downs, one's beliefs, one's likes and dislikes, all of them make the self, right? So moment to moment, in numerous scenarios, you go to a gathering and somebody comes and greets you. And then you come to know that she is from Israel. And you have certain opinion about Israel, good or bad. And then you say, oh my, this person is from Israel. Oh, I'm not happy about the way they have grabbed land from those poor Palestinians. Something may come. Now, leave alone whether they are right or wrong, whether Israeli Jewish people did the right or not, but you are having certain, reservation about making friends probably with people of Israel, and you are having some extra sympathy for the Arabs. That is self-knowing. You become aware. Somehow, I always have felt sympathy for Arabs. You recognize. Because information about these things is so vast, no one can know who is right, who is wrong. About Ukraine and Russia also, opinion is divided. Though, of course, everybody admits that cruelty and killing and all those attacks on civilians is a very sad affair. But where is the genesis of it? How did it all begin? Did Ukraine do something that led to this inevitably, etc.? So those details are different. But to know your bias, especially as it expresses in an interaction, right? That is self-knowing. So the knowing the word has a sense of at the moment. You are at a bus stand waiting for a bus, and then you see a pretty woman walking, and forgetting everything, you look at her, let us say. Then you watch yourself. I am, in this part of the country, I don't know who she is. How come I went on looking at her so much? So whether that is good or bad, whether that woman is really pretty or those are all unnecessary. But you have this tendency, so you know what attracts you, what repels you. So that is self-knowing at that moment, not that night before going to bed. at that moment. Therefore, self-knowing. So knowing has that present continuous tense to bring out that aspect.
Yes, Waghmare, you can ask now.
Are you able to listen to me, sir?
Yeah.
I want to ask to I want to ask to Swamiji, we are condemning ambition. Fine. How one can find out that what is the other word which he should be doing so that would be knowing that he is successful, or what he should do to become successful if ambition is not there.
Beautiful. That's a beautiful question. And I would go to the extent of saying that a lot of people go for ambition because they have no clarity about another way of living. They would imagine, if I let go of my ambition, I will turn into a vegetable existence. I will be lazy. I won't even get up early. And at the office, I'll be wasting my time gossiping about everything. Only when I have a goal and ambition, all the energies will flow through me, etc. That's how people imagine. Because it requires a lot of pondering to see that the truth is not that. The truth is, now that's how you asked beautifully, how am I successful, or what brings meaning to life? When we are free of ambition and other things like greed and so on, and it's not through just cultivation, not some superficial affair. We have seen deeply how ambition makes us insensitive to needs of others. We are so preoccupied with our own goal, such things, or the dissipation of energy which came up in the talk earlier. We see clearly, and more of silent watching our own thoughts and expressions, reactions, we discover that there is actually a way of being where you see what is the best for everyone, what is the best for both the so-called others and oneself. We see what is objectively real, needed. Like somebody is thirsty and you see, oh, this 12-year-old girl is thirsty. 3 times she asked for water and nobody is attending to her. So you go and give her water. So not because you have an ideal of helping everyone, you perceive the scenario, the situation. Therefore, lot of meaningful actions, lot of energetic actions can come out from a person who is watching, who is perceiving properly. Therefore, sensible, meaningful, and quite efficient functioning arising out of right perception is the healthy alternative, if I may call it, to ambition. Ambition is an unhealthy way of drawing energy. It's like there are all these, things to which you get addicted. Take a cup of coffee and you get some energy. But as health experts tell us, they ask us to leave coffee or at least minimize coffee. They say these stimulants give you a burst of energy, but after half an hour, you feel like just sleeping. Like that, this ambition is like a stimulant and doesn't really help us in the long run. Whereas if we are clear of these negativities, then moment to moment, with even half as much energy biologically as otherwise, we will be able to do meaningful things. We may walk slowly, but we will reach long distances. Whereas the ambitious person will run very fast but after some distance, he may collapse. Like Harshad shared that example so well, that professor was ambitious, and then what a blow he got in his life when his wife and children just walked away from him. So sometimes in dramatic ways, sometimes in ways that others do not notice, we get such blows in our life. This being ambitious, being greedy, etc., do not really help us. Therefore, in one sentence, my answer to that wonderful question you asked is a life, a daily life full of meaningful actions, efficiently delivered based on objective perception. Perception-based dynamism. Not this ambition is a thought. Thought-based dynamism is wicked.
Do we mean to say that we
dynamism. Sorry?
Sorry to interrupt you, sir.
No problem.
Do we mean to say that we should not have any goal, aims, or agenda in our life?
No, not at all. You may have a goal which is based on perception. For example, you went to some relative's house and you saw that there is a bright girl, maybe your uncle's daughter, and you find that her family is not able to finance her. She is going for some college where the fees are quite a lot. So not out of any particular attachment, but you just perceive that this girl has such potential. Just because her family is not able to support her, it's not nice. So you come home, you yourself, or with collecting some friends, you arrange a scholarship for her, And in such ways, you may set a goal. I want to help more and more such girls and boys who should not be deprived of higher education just because of money shortage. In this way, you set a goal. This year I have helped 10. Next year I want to help 20 people. So these are born of perception. And perception slowly will get deeper. Initially, you would just be interested in giving BSc or BCom, BE or MBBS to children. Slowly you will find out of that perception only that what is best gift to those young people is holistic education. So you will bring in various ideas of right education. Otherwise, so many people are doing social service. Those who have earned a lot of money, they just go. Goals are so much in terms of how many students were helped to get graduation, how many professional courses, how many were assisted even to go abroad. They make lists. So good, but it's actually sometimes counterproductive also. So whereas, as you know, Krishnaji's views on education, and who asked that? I think Harshadji only said. I had not heard it, but it's a marvelous statement. If parents love children truly, there will be no war on the earth. That is the power of holistic education. If education is only empowering people to get their degrees, get a good job, etc., sometimes it is counterproductive. I use the word counterproductive in the sense some of those who then occupy big chairs might harm the society rather than helping the society. As you know, some Harvard and Cambridge products have done more damage to the world than people of ordinary colleges. So holistic education also should come out of a perception, not some superficial, learning by heart, some definitions of what is holistic. I hope I answered that. No other hand has gone up, it looks like.
Can we further explore this?
Definitely.
You said that perception of the outer situation, and based on that, one should have.
Waghmare sir,
Yes, sir.
please let Prasad ask question first. and then you.
Okay,
Please.
okay. Nobody has asked. Nobody has
No,
listed
no,
his
no,
name,
no.
so
You
that-
have not seen, I have seen. Prasad sir. Prasad,
Prasad.
please,
Okay.
please come forward and ask.
No issue, sir. Please go ahead.
He is
Unmute
allowed
yourself,
to.
sir.
Yeah, Prasad ji.
Prasad ji, please unmute.
Prasad, please come forward and ask. Waghmare is saying the same thing to
Oh,
you.
I think Prasad Garu's microphone is off.
Okay.
Yeah.
Rama
Please
Rao.
unmute yourself. Now it's on.
Sir, I mean, sir, what you say is absolutely correct. And I mean, the examples you have given are quite telling. But I have a little doubt or whatever. That is when Will Durant somewhere said that the purpose of life is supporting the family. For some
Okay.
people,
Mhm.
it is just supporting the family. So some people may work very hard, not with some ambition, but with the idea of supporting the family.
Sure.
Their love of wife and children may take the form of working hard.
Correct.
That is one aspect of working hard. Actually, Persbuck wrote a novel long ago about two business magnates. One, his ambition was to build a big business. The other gentleman, his rival in a way, his ambition was also to build a chain of hotels, all to feed the poor people. His idea was to feed the poor people. So what is the goal? The goal can be building a business, which can be ambitious. The goal can be to work hard to earn money, to have the wherewithal to help the family or poor or some section of people or whatever. So working hard by itself cannot be equated with ambition. That type of working, otherwise, we cannot say that all the CEOs are motivated only by ambition. Many CEOs of Google or Microsoft or whatever, they may be working hard with the intention of, because they have loved the work, they love the family. The two need not be contradictory. They can be supplementary also. Love for the family, love for the country, and working hard, which may take the shape of building a business. They can be complementary, and always we need not simply say, I mean, he's ambitious. A person who is working hard is ambitious. Maybe that's it. That is all my observation. Thank you, sir.
Would Harshad ji want to say anything? I also will add something, or if you want, I can speak first.
Yes, I can say that a person who is working hard for the family, to support the family, but what is the state of his mind when he's working? If he gets very tired, exhausted, he doesn't have clarity, if he has a fear about what will happen in the future. So this a person is carrying a lot of burden on himself. And as long as, and generally, most of people they carry the burden, they don't feel that they are carrying the burden on their head. But when that burden goes away by some way, when a person can turn inward and begin to see himself very, very clearly, that how the fear comes, anger, jealousy, all that problem, and that clear looking makes him free, then he can do the work he is doing without any getting tired or having worries about the future or something happened in the past. So that is why I say that how we do anything, how we work in the office or how we teach, how we listen, how we look, everything is very important. And as long as we are carrying the burden, lot of burden, we cannot do anything efficiently. Okay, I have finished.
Yeah, I wish to add that
Mm.
what Prasadji described was very thought-provoking. And one dimension of that kind of working hard, which may not have any ambition expressing itself explicitly, one dimension of it is what Krishnaji calls absorption. A child is absorbed in a toy. That absorption in the toy is nothing great. The child may be absorbed. And Krishnaji has said somewhere, a scientist absorbed in an experiment in a laboratory may go on to get a Nobel Prize for his work. But from the point of view of holistic living, from the point of view of deeper insights into life, even the Nobel Prize winner has a long way to go. He was able to come upon some astounding discoveries for which he was given a Nobel Prize because of absorption. He was able to focus and totally get, be lost in that experiment. Whereas from a spiritual point of view, it's not concentration or absorption, but it is attention. And it's not that one should never get absorbed, but does that scientist have at other times of the day true attention to the whole of life? Or if that scientist or this child, once they are out of the lab or out of the toy, they have many likes and dislikes, prejudices. They are also hurt if somebody insults them, and they are very happy if somebody praises them. Then, despite the scientist, doing extraordinary research, as a human being, he is yet to go far, yet to go much distance. Therefore, what you described is wonderful. We don't blame them as, look at that man working so hard, ambitious. It need not be ambitious, but he's going through a phase of absorption in one objective to look after his family, which is okay. But the blossoming requires opening up. Life is much more than looking after the family. So with due respect and even appreciation, we appreciate a lot of, people are so careless, irresponsible. Here is somebody who is very responsible and caring for the family. From that angle of view, hats off to him. But down the road, realities will hit him. And then he will find that he has to be free of certain other elements in his own psychology, which were not surfaced before.
Rama Rao,
Yeah,
please
thank
come
you.
forward. Rama Rao.
Yeah. So the moment I heard the means like a topic living fully, so a few things came to my mind. I want to express it. Afterwards, you can examine it. That life, it is eternal. It is a beyond senses, beyond sensations. It manifests different forms. That form has to be fully living. that form, what it gets obstructions in living fully. That obstructions like ideals, habits, routine, mundane works. And if goes on seeing this, then it is means it forms like a these things, ideals, mundane work, routines, habits. Then it becomes a, instead of living fully, it becoming a struggle of life. So then the struggle starts. That life energy which is flowing through this manifests. It creates in different forms like conflict. I'm not getting out. Okay. Right, sir. Thank you.
Thank you for sharing some thoughts with us.
So, Shakti sir, would you please unmute and say Shakti sir first and then Raj Sekhar.
Yes, sir. You know, this, when you said this statement of Krishnamurti that love is when self is not. So I don't know what is that state when the self is not. But it seems that affection is when gross selfishness has taken the back seat for a while. And that is part of everyone's life, I think. Thank you, sir.
Raj Sekhar sir. Raj Sekhar, please come forward.
Yes, sir. Am I audible?
Yes,
Yes.
you are.
Good evening to all. Actually, I wanted to share a very recent experience. About 3 days back, I was moving around in the morning walk in Usmania University area. A big, very good forest type is there. Lot of flowering trees, and I used to. That is my habit. Few hours, maybe sometimes. This time 5 hours I have spent there. But during this process, I have come across one person, aged person, maybe is 60 plus, something like that. One young person was standing by side of him. He was going on feeding the does. There maybe 20, 30 does are there, pigeons and does feeding. So much, a big bag is there. It's not a small quantity or like that. Then I thought of just interacting with him. I went around, I just asked him, sir, so much, how much you fed? He said, about 15, 20 kgs I bring it. It is jowar. I asked what you are. Jowar and this fried chana, that is for chutney purpose we use in South India. So he was feeding all that. Then I asked, it is so costly. Nowadays, everything is costly. And how much you must be spending? 500 to 1,000 rupees. Then he said, I also feed cows. Daily I feed it. I spend more than 1 hour. And it comes to 1,000 rupees per day. And all that, I took one photo of it. And asked, you must be very rich, sir. He didn't say, what is your, this one, are you working in a organization? Then he said, he's a businessman. Okay, I asked, what is the business? Yeah, then he said, jewelry business. Okay. Then I understood, yes. Because of that, is some Chand, some name was there, small, full name I don't remember. Then I asked the young man, are you son? No, no, sir, I'm not his son. I'm working in his shop, but I bring on my scooter to this place. We are staying in some other place. I am helping him. Okay, very nice, you are doing it. I just inquired, is he paying very well? Just out of curiosity, you see. I don't want to come to any conclusion. He's doing a job which is really praiseworthy. And I said to him, I salute to you. Okay. Then he said, okay. I didn't reveal, I didn't again press what is the amount. So it's not correct. Just I asked him. Okay. He was happy, it seems. Then I asked, I said, then I just mentioned with him, very nice thing is doing it. But at the same time, in the business also, you should get profits, but not exorbitantly high prices and other reasonable profit he has to take. And them ladies are interested in jewelry and all that. Maybe good designs. He's satisfying some community. Okay, that is okay. Then you didn't say. Then of course I didn't. It is not correct on my part to say is he charging extra. Just to have an idea. See, sir, this is really surprising. People are giving it maybe half kg or a kg or some amount. I have seen many people, but was keeping a very big bag. And I watched him from distance, 10 minutes. He was going on giving it. Sir, I don't know. Just I wanted to share. What is his mind? I can't know. Because he is a new person. I don't know him. Sir, what is that? Can sir, this is only a sharing of my experience, and I was. There are people like that. Hello, sir.
Satyanarayan, please come forward and ask. Modak, help him in unmuting, please. Satyanarayan, you are raising physically hand. Please come forward. Satyanarayan.
His mic is muted.
Okay. Hello, sir.
Yeah, now you are audible. Sure.
Now I am audible. Thank you, sir, and Chidanandji and Harshad, I think. And both of you have explored very nicely the very subtle dimensions of this JK and other thinking. But one interesting point which I wanted to seek from you that about the personality ethics, Chidanandji spoke about it. And even the householder who is actually earning very hard the money to feed his children, that is also love. And a person who is also running an industry, a CEO, he also actually works very hard to become to the top. But both of them are actually, in comparison, normally personality ethics, they are ambitious. But the point I wanted to say is that real love, which Krishnamurti was speaking, and we are all concerned. You also mentioned one example, a girl or the boy who is actually very poor condition, spontaneously somebody responds and helps him or her on the spot. That is actually spontaneous, unconditional love. Hello?
Yes. Go on.
Yeah, that unconditional love is actually supposed to be, it is for how it actually arises. It is common to all or it comes only for few. That is actually compassionate way of life for those a few in this kind of pursuit of spiritual domain. I wanted to seek your opinion.
Okay. Chidanandji, will you please answer him?
Yeah, I think that's a very difficult question to answer. Therefore, someone has said that Krishnamurti was above normal. He was not a normal person. Some other word was used, I'm not getting that.
Freak.
Freak.
Yeah,
Freak.
was he a freak?
Mm.
And then this U.G. Krishnamurti was of the opinion, not J. Krishnamurti, U.G. Krishnamurti was of the opinion. Some of these things happen when you biologically change. It's not in your hands, but when biologically there is a change, something is, the body is a big factory. A lot of things are happening. And you may be studying, you may listen to somebody, you may read books, you may write books, nothing may happen. Then there is somebody else who hasn't given speeches, who hasn't read books, but something he sees and there is a change. So U.G. Krishnamurti has said it is certain changes in the even neurodynamics, brain and so on. So you asked a very pertinent question. How does one show as compassionate? How come some are compassionate, some are not? I think that's where in the traditional philosophy of India, they talk about sanskaras, they talk about divine grace, which add to the list of questions than subtract. But so those words are used.
Ravi.
So really, we don't know.
Good evening to
Ravi.
everyone.
Can I add, sir? Hello.
Please go ahead. Please make it.
Sir
Please.
Chidanandji, hello. I wanted to speak to the Chidanandji and who has answered. Our pursuit of this domain is also actually we wanted to be transformed to wanted to be. I'm not. It may be a wrong expression, and this is our deliberate effort for us to transform to a compassionate. But is it actually, it comes through samskara or it is actually comes from one's own effort? Even that gold businessman Sekhar mentioned, he may be earning a lot of money through business and gold business and all that, but he is trying to feed birds and all and others. But it may be a good effort for himself to understand. It may enable him to emerge into a compassionate one. So it is actually, when we speak about the love, it is actually conditional love because of responsibility love towards family and family members and children and all, wife, etc. But there is also one has to actually locate oneself whether he has actually in himself that hidden, pure, compassionate love towards this universe and its universal beings. And I seek your reflection, sir.
Chidanandji, time is very short, so please make a short reply to this, please.
I am going to just say, I personally believe kayena vacha manasa, what we do physically, what we speak with our power of speaking, and what we think. All these three are of help, they erase sanskaras and instill new sanskaras, whereby the opening up takes place.
May I close it now, sir?
Thank you.
May I close it, Chidanandji?
I guess we should. 7:30 हो रहा है. नहीं तो बहुत लोग सुशील जैन से गुस्सा करेंगे बाद.
That is fine with me. You should not be annoyed with me. That's all. Thank you. It is already 7:30. Nobody will be unhappy about it.
Thank you.
So, Modak, please close it.
Okay.
Thanks.